I'm right back with y'all with the top players of all time in NBA history. My top 60 list. I've been counting down from number 60 if you've been paying attention. We down to number 26 right now. Number 26 on my list, none other than David Robinson, the Admiral. If you don't know a lot about David, make sure you look him up. 7'1" center for the San Antonio Spurs. He was a lefty. Now, one of the things that made David as skilled as he was had to do with the fact that he spent a lot of time playing the guard position before he sprouted up and had a growth spurt that made him a person who could play the center spot. So David had almost like a guard skill set, and you could see it in his play, even though he was a power player as well from the center spot. David Robinson, you're talking about a guy that was a 10-time All-NBA standout, 8 times on the defensive squad, All-NBA defense. He was a defensive player of the year, led the league in blocks one year, led the league in rebounds one year. He even led the league in scoring in a season where he put up 70 points in a game in order to secure the scoring title that year. Now, most people might remember David from being a 2-time NBA champ when he was the 2 option, essentially, to Tim Duncan. And you might remember him benefiting from playing with Tim Duncan. But before Tim Duncan was around, David Robinson held it down for the San Antonio Spurs in the 90s and was single-handedly getting them to the playoffs where he was the only superstar on the team. Matter of fact, David had to get hurt and miss an entire season for the Spurs to be in position to draft Tim Duncan as high as they were in the draft that year. Everything had to do with David Robinson. And then when David came back, they won a title with their Twin Towers. So make sure you look up David Robinson. He's who I got at number 26. At number 25, one of the greatest overseas players of all time, we're talking about Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk Nowitzki was a 12-time All-NBA standout. Another member of the 50-40-90 club I've talked about. He had a season, I believe in 07, where he averaged 50% from the field, 40% from 3, 90% from the three-point line. The free throw line, rather. Now, Dirk Nowitzki helped revolutionize the game of basketball, bringing the European game over to the pros and being successful with it, and bringing in a new type of or style of play, that being the stretch 4 position. Before, the power forward position, those guys was playing with their back to the basket way more often, more of a power game, a la what the position is called. But Dirk, he was such a good shooter, he was able to stretch the floor and do his damage from the top of the key, the wings, and everywhere. And he still had a post-up game. He was a league MVP just like David Robinson, and had one of the most impressive runs in NBA history in 2011, where he marched through the playoffs, beating a great Oklahoma City squad, a Lakers squad that it was a championship team, and taking out the Heatles, as they called them at the time, the Miami Heat team with the big 3, Bosh, LeBron, and Wade, when they had predicted the year before that they were about to reel off 7 straight titles. Dirk Nowitzki was super impressive in that game, in that series rather, and put in a lot of work, and is an all-time great. 25 on my list, one of the greatest players of all time. You can make an argument he's the greatest European player of all time. Now, at number 24, we going with Kevin Garnett, playing around the same time as Dirk Nowitzki. Kevin Garnett, KG, the big ticket, came right out of high school. The big ticket was a 9-time All-NBA standout, 12 times All-NBA defensive standout, also a defensive player of the year, led the league in rebounds 4 different times in his career. He'd get you about 20 to 22 a night, 12 to 14 boards a game in his heyday. He could guard all 5 positions. He also could bring the ball up and handle it if need be. Wasn't the greatest three-point shooter, but could hit a wide open one if you gave it to him. And just was a true leader, one of the most passionate players you'll ever see, an NBA champion. And he led on both ends. His defense might have been more valuable than his offense, but he gave you offense. Like I said, 20 and 14, about 4 to 6 assists a game. Kevin Garnett, one of the all-time standouts, one of the all-time greats in NBA history. And he's at number 23 on my list. I'm sorry. Number 24 on my list. Number 23, the last one on this video, is none other than the mailman, Karl Malone. Now, people don't talk about him enough these days because of some stuff that came up in his personal life. But on the basketball court, the mailman delivered. He retired as the second highest career point scorer in the history of the league and is still top 3. He would have had more scoring titles if not for Michael Jordan. He averaged 30 a number of years, played about 20 years in the league, and had a career average of 25 points a game. That's tough to do over the course of 20 years. He could hit the free throw so you couldn't foul him. He could put his back to the basket. Karl Malone was a 13-time All-NBA standout, 4 times on the defensive All-NBA squad. So he played D, even though he wasn't as known for that as much as others might give him credit for. But again, All-NBA, All-Defense 4 times. But the 13 times All-NBA on the offense is where he was known for doing his damage. Had a mean mid-range jump shot. And he was great on the fast break. Standing around 6'9", super strong in the paint. When he retired, he was considered by many the greatest power forward of all time. Now, since then, Tim Duncan has taken that mantle, and some might even argue Kevin Garnett. As you see, where I got Karl Malone, I would say he's on the all-time list above KG. But regardless of how you see it, Karl Malone is definitely a top 25 player of all time, one of the all-time greats. Playing on that team with John Stockton, he was a 2-time league MVP, and they made it to the finals twice. He would have a ring just like John Stockton would have a ring if it wasn't for Michael Jordan. And Karl Malone was the engine, the one you could pretty much pencil in his sleep that he was going to get you 25 and 10 on a night in, night out basis. Stay tuned for the next list coming soon. All right, that's all the time I got. Y'all know what it is, and you know who you looking for. Jheatsportsmedia. And I'm coming at y'all with that fire as always. Y'all know where to find me, so make sure you subscribe. Catch me on YouTube, Instagram, X, and TikTok.